But right now, let's understand what it means that the minority cannot promise that there will be peaceful deliberations over the e-levy when it comes back to the table, especially if any of the deputy speakers decide to vote. We've also heard from the majority that says they will pass the bill whether or not whether with or without the support of the NDC minority. I've been joined by a security analyst, Dr. Adam Bona, and also a senior lecturer at the Political Science Department at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Dr. Amachi Boateng. I'm grateful for your time, gentlemen. Let me start with you, Dr. Amachi. The minority says there's absolutely no guarantee that the e-levy discussion, will go on peacefully if any of the deputy speakers decide to vote. And this afternoon, we're also hearing that Alban Bagbe may not be in the seat next week because he has to go for medical checkup from next week. How does all of this come across to you?
Let me say good afternoon to your viewers and your listeners as well. And thanks for the opportunity. Actually, I don't expect anyone to be surprised by, this issue coming up the way it is. Because the main challenge that came up the last time around had to do with the issue as to whether when it happens that the speaker is not in and any of the deputies, take over the seat, whether the person could be allowed to wear two hats, to be a speaker and at the same time a member of parliament, so that he could, if he like, chair the House and direct the affairs of the day, and at the same time, when it gets to voting, step down and then go to the floor of the parliament and vote. You realize that there's confusion there, there's conflict there, because as a speaker, you are supposed, if you like, to really represent the whole Ghana and somehow in an apolitical fashion guide the affairs of the House. And then in the course of the same proceedings, you say that, look, I'm a member of parliament of constituency A or B. I'm going down there to vote. There's confusion there. And when it occurred, all of us Ghanaians were interested in the physical manifestation of this conflict playing out. And we call it, came up with various captions. And then we neglected the causal element there, the causal factor, the issue as to taking a decision in the parliament when we have that scenario. We have not addressed it. Is it in our constitution for such a speaker in that situation to wear two hats? Is it possible? In real practical terms, what is the logic behind it? The role of the speaker, who is supposed to be neutral, apolitical, who sits in there, guide the affairs of the House, and then somewhere in the line of duty, he gets down there to vote. We have not addressed that issue. And so, did anybody expect this issue to go away? In that case, it's like we're anticipating that time was going to heal that wound. It doesn't happen that way. So, in the same way that the last time around, the House could not agree. And so a conflict that was generated was not addressed. The issue still remains. It has not been addressed. So we shouldn't be surprised by this, if you like, statements coming out from any of the sides. And one interesting thing too is that you don't get any sign that any of them is ready for a compromise. Any of them is ready for some sort of accommodation, some way to cooperate and come around this challenge. So we went for a recess, we went on break, we've come down, we maintain our same old positions. Obviously, the outcome is that the conflict is going to continue to play itself out.
Dr. Bona has also joined us. Mr. Bona, given the nasty scenes we saw the last time this subject was on the table, what does this actually mean with the stance that both sides have taken?
Good afternoon, Aisha. For me, it looks like it's going to be chaotic once again. and that would be unfortunate. The stance both sides of the House have taken, I think, would not augur well for us as a nation, those of us who elected them to represent us in Parliament. If for nothing at all, they should take a cue from Burkina Faso that have had a military takeover. I see this as an open invitation for some intervention, but whatever intervention that is, I'm not sure, because then we expect that Parliament, as an arm of government, to be able to dialogue, negotiate, and agree on the way to go, get government business going, rather than resorting to fisticuffs and, pulling one another, tearing one another's shirt, punching, themselves in the face. This is not what we expect them to do. And so if they are talking tough, I would urge the military and the police to be on standby and invade Parliament if we see them fighting, because we elected them there. We didn't elect them there to go and disrespect the people who put them there. The executive, the Honorable Minister of Finance, has had a lot of time to dialogue. But unfortunately, I'm just hearing the dialogue and stakeholder meetings are now going to take place. What have they been doing all this while? What have they been doing? So, Aisha, for me, looking at the timing of this, statements and counter statements, it's very bad. It's not good for us as a country, as a democratic country, Aisha.
Actually, the Speaker himself yesterday, when he presided over affairs of the House, called for consensus building in the House. What happens to that consensus building with what we are hearing?
Well, I think a lot is expected from the majority side, but I haven't seen much from the majority side. I was expecting that, the long break, they would have engaged, stakeholders, they would have been a lot more education. But I haven't seen any radio, TV jingle, any airing of a sort trying to explain to us why the e-levy is so important. I haven't seen anything like that. So if they are now going to dialogue and they've already given a time frame in which that law must be passed for the e-levy to be implemented, then the question I ask is that is it as if to say that we don't care if Parliament becomes, like a, Buko Marina? Is that what they are saying? I think that the executive should come to the party and start doing things the right way. For me, I am disappointed in the executive in the sense that there should have been more consultation, but the minority side should not go into Parliament attempting to fight. There should be other ways of dealing with this rather than this confrontation. Because you see, Burkina Faso has just happened. Guinea took place. Mali had taken place. Let's be seen democratically to be able to govern ourselves by civilians. But what they are doing doesn't augur well for us once again, Aisha. It doesn't simply augur well. And in terms of security, for the Fourth Republic, I think this is the bad time for anyone to, show that those we elected, because Parliament is one of the foundations of our democracy. So if they cannot, agree to disagree among themselves without tearing one another and attempting to hurt one another, then where else can we get this done? If we can't get it done in Parliament the right way.
Dr. Amachi, are you disappointed that, up until now, the two sides have not been able to build consensus, especially with what the Speaker himself has been championing?
Yeah, I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed because I am old enough to have voted for the 1992 referendum that brought into being the Fourth Republic. And so some of us would have seen how terrible things were before, the advent of the Fourth Republic took place. And so, and I don't know whether we have small boys in Parliament. I don't know whether those in Parliament We don't have older folks in Parliament, so they don't know where we have come from. Because if they did, then they should have built consensus enough to ensure that at no point should we be seen as a nation tearing one another down. Already Baku is in turmoil. No wonder we are not talking about Baku, because we seem to have, an example, going on in Parliament where they tear one another down, beat one another. What do you expect that the people in Nima Mamobi will do? When you see the gangs in Nima Mamobi, shooting and doing things, they are learning from our MPs in Parliament. Because then, let dialogue and negotiation be how we want to live in this country, and not resort to, fisticuffs and tearing one another and punching one another. And so I am disappointed that there has not been real negotiations, consensus building, nothing. If there had been any, maybe you can tell me. You work for one of the big media houses. Tell me if there has been any dialogue. Have you been invited into any meeting that is trying to explain and trying to say this is why we intend to do this? Apart from morning shows, they appear and trying to cut one another, and it's been the same, since they went up. I thought they were behind the scene, negotiations, only to be told that, nothing has taken place among these two sides. So for me, it's, what is going on in Parliament is not so different from what took place in Nima Mamobi, what is taking place in Baku. The only thing is that these two places have not been elected. We have elected them, but unfortunately, they are certain bad examples for future generation to learn from. Aisha.
Dr. Adam, but I'll have you hold and bring in Dr. Mache Boateng. Doc, I'm asking if you are disappointed with the kind of where we've gone about with consensus building, especially as everybody is calling on Parliament to build consensus, with the Speaker himself championing that.
Aisha, it's disappointing, and actually to say that one is disappointment is to make an understatement. The reason being that, generally speaking, politics is about conflict, taking a decision on an issue that, people obviously naturally have different positions. But then at the end of the day, if progress is to be made, if society is to move forward, then the need to find common grounds come up. This has been the situation with all societies from the time of creation to date. So that if today, in the current century, Ghana, we've come to this position that we find ourselves in, and our members of Parliament simply don't appear to have any clue as to how to go about this, then that is the real challenge. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because we're perpetuating the situation where their parties enjoy majority in the Parliament, and so anything at all that came up, went through. And let me quickly say that I don't interpret the position of the minority to be that, hey, we've gone for blows, we are going to exchange blows. No, I don't think that is what they are saying. They are saying that there's a national issue, an issue that has huge potential implications on our national life, that we are deciding. We, the representatives of the people, are deciding. And we believe that the current position that the majority has taken will not inure to the benefit of Ghanaians. It will not address the common good of this country. And so we retain our positions. And that if we should find ourselves in that scenario where the Speaker is not in, and then one of us goes to simply take on the role of the Speaker, then the right thing should be done in a way. That is my understanding of what the opposition, the minority is saying. And interestingly, because over the years, we've all enjoyed our majority and we've operated with it, we don't think there's a need to think around the box this time around, go out there for common grounds, and here the charge is on the MPP. They are the majority, they are in government, they need to lead the country. Leadership challenge critically is to provide leadership, direction for the country. So they need to go out, reach out to the minority and find ways of coming around some common grounds. And then we will be talking of consensus and accommodation from that time onwards. That is not happening. But quickly, let me say that The current scenario we find ourselves in does not invite the police or the military into the the situation. No, our politics is obviously unfolding, and with it comes understanding and eventually maturity. Many countries have gone this way when there's what they call a government lockdown. You know, it manifests in several democracies. So we need to be conscious of that. And let's also draw our attention, and especially that of the military, to the fact that the military hasn't got any positive records of national development, economic growth, sustained economic growth and national development in Africa. In all the years that the military, participated in politics anywhere in Black Africa, it has never happened. They don't have any record like that. They could not even guarantee basic human rights. So they have no business thinking that the current situation is an invitation for any policeman or a military person to come in. No, no one is inviting them. We can't go on like this. And so there will be a way out. Pressure will be brought to bear, first and foremost on the MPP, the majority, to really review this e-levy thing, go in for a stakeholder approach, engage not only the minority, but greater Ghanaians, so that we all come to an understanding that basically there's a need for all of us to pay taxes, otherwise no country can prosper. But in paying taxes, what sort of taxes are we ready to pay? How should it be crafted out? I think they have a challenge like that. They should come down, and be like all of us and engage us.
I'm grateful for your time. Dr. Amache Boateng, Senior Lecturer at the Department of Political Science at KNUST, and Dr. Adam Bona is also a security analyst. You heard him earlier.